I have with me in the studio the president, Nigerian Council of Registered Insurance Brokers. He's also the president of Nigerian Britain Association, US 2 Caps, the president of Mr. Sola Tinubu. Thank you very much for joining us on the show today.
I'm pleased to be here.
Let me start this way. I want to know exactly the place of insurance brokers in the insurance value chain.
Well, the insurance brokers are the intermediary. They are the go-between the consumers and the providers of insurance, being the insurance companies. They are the ones that do a needs analysis for the clients to be able to see exactly what they need, the products they need, the service quality they need, and the service level they need, the type of security they require, and then approach the market in a professional manner, in able to get them the best terms they can get in that market from the highest security that they can get. And therefore it puts them in a very good place. Just to even just mention, one of the things that you would hear people talking about now is the capitalization requirements. There's a new requirement for insurance companies to capitalize. And who is going to help the clients to navigate through all that, to know which are the insurance companies that will make it, which are the insurance companies, what are they doing to progress towards the targets, which are the companies that have already crossed the lines, and which are the companies that they must place their business with now that will be in existence in 12 months' time.
How well would you say they fared in this part of the world, talking about brokers now? How well are they doing in Nigeria?
Well, in Nigeria, you know, statistics, depending on which statistics you want to look at and how you want to interpret it. But in terms of what you hear is that nearly every business, if you look at in Nigeria, maybe 70% of the business in Nigeria is run through brokers. Now, that is not a very weird figure. People think it's very high, but it's not. If you go to the largest single market for insurance in the world, the Lloyd's market, it is 100% brokered market. So, but what it is that overall, where you have things like retail, which we're not doing enough of in Nigeria in terms of reaching, selling insurance on the retail level, brokers are not as involved, even in the UK, in many of the other places, because there's so many other distribution points for that. So overall, their percentage is going to be less than ours. So we're a significant player in Nigeria at the stage at which this market is right now.
I want to talk about this before I go to the next question. The issue of trust comes in here. Nigerians, they're yet to really have this 100% trust in insurance company, believing that if something happens, they're going to get compensation, they're going to get funds. As that when due?
Well, I tell you, sometimes I think a lot of it is anecdotal. That means you just hear about it. If you ask 100 people on the streets in Nigeria, just do a random, search, what do they think about insurance? And you will hear all the negatives, the mistrust. But then if you then ask them, the same 100, how many of them have insurance policies? And what you may hear is that 99% of them don't have. So the mistrust is not coming from a real place. It's not coming from true experience. It's coming from things probably they've heard or they just haven't decided to try. So what we've decided in the industry that what is required is awareness of the true value of insurance. Where you get is maybe from A or from B, but the true and intrinsic value of insurance to the individual and to the economy is something that really we want to make sure that people are aware of. Then you can go into what product we're going to do, what price.
Interesting. Yeah. Now, being president of the Nigerian Council of Registered Insurance Broker, that's not a small one at all. It's a real big deal. You're rounding up very soon your tenure. Tell us how it's been, and would you say you're accomplished?
Well, I am. I'm definitely accomplished. The major thrust of my office, I think has been fully achieved. One of the things, that major thrust was actually to ensure that the brokers have, a bounce in their step. They are proud of what they're doing, and that can reflect from the public awareness and public perception of brokers. And I think that has been significantly affected during this tenure. And it was because of certain other things that were done. First, it was institution building. institution building in the sense that what I set out to do, and I and my team set out to do, was to empower our secretariat. The CEO of the secretariat, is the executive secretary, and to ensure that that secretariat is empowered and resourced to be able to protect the interest of members and carry on the business of ensuring that the public are aware of insurance brokers and what they do. And I think this has essentially been done. During my tenure, something very significant is that the relationship with our regulator, the National Insurance Commission, has been, as far as I'm concerned, much better than it has been for years before then. The partnership with NICOM was excellent in the sense that if you look at the years before that, we had, even over 50 companies in the 2 years before I took over office, if not up to, I think, nearly 100 companies that lost their licenses, as 100 insurance brokers. During this tenure, that came down to maybe a couple. You could count them on your fingers. You had all sorts of regulations coming out from NICOM for which they took the Nigerian Council of Registered Insurance Brokers as a partner. So they exposed the draft of these regulations for which we had significant input to them either coming online or deciding to take a back foot on some of them. Probably we had one for which we actually had a very major dispute with, which the National Insurance Company, National Insurance Commission were really happy to step back on that one as well. So I think that was also a very significant, achievement, such that the relationship, was great in that for the tenure.
That's a good one. What are expectations? Many want people taking after them to consolidate on what's being done and do more. What are expectations for this great council?
Yes, I mean, one of the things that we set out to do, I'm a maximum 2-year tenure president, and we set out to do a 10-year plan. Now, we must plan for long term. Whether we are, as a country, we have a president that's going to be there for 4 years or 8 years, we must plan as a country for 50 years. We must plan for even longer. It doesn't matter the tenure of the president. But then, in trying to do that, you have a challenge. If I'm a 2-year president and you want to plan for 10 years, then you need to be able to say, how do you do that? You could do it on paper, then the next president throws it, under the table. Or do you ensure that the way you build consensus around it, you build it around even future leaders? And this is exactly what I did. I had to look ahead and look at where are the probable leaders going to come from in terms of succession plan of the council. And I put all of them together and look at the probables that could come in, and put them all together to put this plan in place. What that meant was that there may be certain things I would have wanted to do, I was very passionate about, I may have had to sacrifice just to build consensus around. But when I know that once that consensus is built, you have a 10-year plan that everybody would follow. And that's what we're able to do.
Let's go back to contribution of insurance. We saw some figures on the screen now showing that Nigeria remains low when it comes to contribution of the insurance sector to the GDP, yes, unlike other countries. How can we get better?
Well, one of the things we realize, and I think we've always spoken about, is awareness. If you look at the contribution of the GSM companies to our economy, people think it's absolutely significant. But only a few years ago, remember NITEL and the little contribution that they had. So what happened was a little tweak in regulation, a little tweak in awareness, a little tweak with technology coming to assist, and before you knew it, in a very short time, there was an explosion. I believe the insurance is really on the cusp of that right now. What we are going to see is a situation where technology is coming in at the right time. Banking payment systems, which has been what has been holding us back for a long time. If you want to sell insurance on a retail level and you want to start collecting 2020 naira from various people, If you don't have technology to correct it, it'll probably cost you 1,000 naira to go and pick up a 20 naira. But all those things are coming together now, and with the right catalyst from the regulator, I think we are going to go places where insurance is, because it's not the intrinsic value of insurance is there. The intrinsic value of even the insurance companies and brokers is also known, but it's about ensuring that we can communicate that to the insuring public to understand that they need this. Sometimes they think that insurance is for people who are wealthy, but actually, you know, I can assure you, if a good friend Alhaji Dangote decides not to insure his house, if something happens to it, I'm sure he's able to replace it very easily. But so insurance, you have to look at in terms of your wealth and preserving the wealth that you have. So it doesn't matter what level. So even if it's a little Okada that you have, but that is what feeds your family every day. If anything happens to that Okada, then you move back into poverty. You move back into a situation where you cannot even, you know, look after family again. That Okada should be insured. So and it's not about whether it's expensive. If you want to insure something that's just 100 naira, it's only a proportion of that you pay. Yeah. So you don't pay 1,000 naira to insure something that's worth 100. Yeah. So if you have a property worth 100, you are wealthy enough to buy something that's 100 naira, then maybe 1 naira is what you would need to be able to pay to insure that.
A final word for your expectations from professionals practicing insurance brokers. What are expectations from them as we move on? Well,
one of the things that I've seen, my expectations from brokers is to just always be professional. Professional in your outlook, professional in your dealings with the public. Because there's one thing, the public never forget. You know, you may think the one person that, you know, that you come in contact with that doesn't have a good experience from insurance through you will forget. But as collective memory, they don't forget. We still have situations where people accuse insurance of various things, and I ask, well, what's your experience? And somebody mentions a company that existed in Nigeria 40 years ago or 30 years ago, and we're wondering, yes, they don't forget. Bad experiences never go away. And this is what the NCRIB has done, you know, really, is try to partner with several other non-profit organizations. The Nigerian Britain Association, for which I'm president, also is one of them. The JCI is also one of them as well. These are organizations that help youth to understand, you know, their responsibilities to society. And this is something that we also think, because if we don't get the youth aligned now, then 20 years from now, we'll still be in exactly the same place.
President, Nigerian Council of Registered Insurance Brokers, and President of Nigerian Britain Association, thank you very much for your time, Sola Tinubu. Thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.
It's great to have you.